Hello, and thank you for attending another episode of This Week in Plymouth. I am your host and your town manager, Derek Brindisi. This episode, we have our first ever communications coordinator with us, Casey Kennedy. Casey, thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So Casey, we have a lot to cover.
Yes.
We have about 28 minutes to cover this information. But I know you and I had gone on Steve Trifoletti, the moderator. He had a show, and we talked about the work that you are leading in the community around engaging the community, communications, getting information out. But this is our one-on-one, so we can ask kind of more pointed questions.
Yeah.
But before we talk about your work and the things that you plan on doing over the next few months, let's talk about who you are. So you just started in August of 2024.
Yes, so it's been
So
months.
you want to give folks, introduce yourself, they get to know where you came from, what your background is like?
Sure. So as Mr. Brindisi said, I am Casey Kennedy. I'm the town's first communications coordinator. I started this past August, so it's been about 6 months, I think we just came up on. So before I had more of a corporate background doing, communications, public relations, marketing in a corporate world. So municipality was new, but I've always been interested in local government, municipalities, working with police and fire departments. So I was ready to take on the challenge, and it's been an exciting journey so far. The town has got some great things going on, keeping me busy and on my toes, so it's been great.
A little bit different than the private sector?
A little, yes.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad.
Well, Plymouth is a busy community, largest town in Massachusetts, so we have, as you've learned, we have a lot going on in this community. But before we jump into some of the new policies the Select Board have enacted, one thing I want to highlight, because you have done a great job since your arrival, is really trying to amplify a lot of the major capital improvement projects that we've completed. So did a ribbon cutting for the Station 2 fire station in West Plymouth. We did a ribbon cutting for Stevens Field. I think you were probably 4 weeks on the job,
Yes,
right?
that was exciting.
And then we had a groundbreaking over at the
Jenny Grist Mill. Yep.
So can you kind of, because I hope that the community appreciates the fact that we're really trying to shine a bright light on these multi-million-dollar projects. And I also hope that people understand now, because of your arrival, how their tax dollars are being spent. Can you talk about a little bit about what you've been able to help us achieve with those events?
Yeah. So how I kind of looked as part of this role, on top of, working with the local media, is kind of being the bridge of communication from, town hall, all town employees, to the community. There are hundreds of amazing projects that are happening daily that, the folks that are so integrated in the projects, they're so ingrained with, completing them, doing their job that they were hired to do. They don't have time to, write a press release or a blog or go on social media and talk about it. But the community deserves to also know what's going on, especially when it comes to their tax dollars. So that was one of the initiatives, and a lot of that has come down to, the events that we've been able to. So the ribbon cuttings, the groundbreakings, you just mentioned a few of them. So Stevens Field was a project that was, 20 years in the making, give or take.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the number, but multi-million dollars.
Well, $5.5 million.
Yes, so $5 million, good amount of money, and to be able to see it completed and the turnout with the community just proved of, people wanted to see it. They wanted to see where their money's going. So on top of doing the events and the ribbon cuttings, I'm really trying to find different mediums to reach the community where they're at. So, not everyone is going to check the town website. It's just a fact. I personally wouldn't go to my town's website on a day-to-day basis, but, I'm active on social media. So if I follow, the town of Plymouth and they post something new, maybe that's where I get my info. So I'm really trying to hit folks in all different ways. So we post a lot of things on the homepage, which is under Newsflash. So any immediate press releases, bird flu has been going on. So bird flu, all the information's been pushed right to the homepage via press releases, but also, daily social media posting. So Facebook, X, Instagram, we've been hammering some stuff out there that the town's been doing, whether is a press release, following along with what's on the homepage, or just some of the great things. Even today, I posted about the select board meeting yesterday, and there's about, I think, $57,000 that was approved for the Manomet Youth Center.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge grant that is going to the youth of the community.
That's right. That's right.
So,
and that's the thing, though, Casey. So a lot of people don't follow the select board meetings. They certainly don't follow the select board agenda meetings, and so the hope was. So let me take a step back. So back in 2022, when I became the town manager, many of the board members had said to me, "We got to do a better job engaging community. We got a better job. We have to do a better job pushing information so people understand all the things that we're doing." And so, I started this show This Week in Plymouth as one vehicle, and then about a year and a half later, we advocated for a communications coordinator. And I had talked to a longtime selectman who's since retired, and he, had served about 25 years on the Board of Selectmen. I told him how we had this appropriation to hire your position, and he had said to me, he said, "I've been advocating for a communications coordinator for a decade."
Yeah.
And so clearly this is something that was long overdue. But what some people don't say is, okay, well, yeah, maybe you sent out a message on social media, or maybe you sent a press release. Well, we were doing some of those things in the past, but not only are we able to do it more often because you're a rival, but if you're drafting a press release, we'll say, regarding bird flu, that allows our public health division, our director of public health, our commissioner of health and human services to focus on the crisis at hand and not have to sit in their office and draft 2 or 3 hours of a press release. So your presence not only pushes information to the community, but it also allows our professional staff to continue to do their job while you're handling this stuff in the background. I think people need to be aware of that. So the month of January was a difficult month, I can say, for me personally, because of this debate of philosophical differences between myself and some of the local media. But what it did is it did shine a bright light on our intention on communicating with the public, but also that we want to, and I say we, you and I and the select board and others, want to make sure that any information that goes to community is factual, right? It's fact-based. So one thing that we did after we completed that debate with the local media, we went to the select board and we created a media policy.
Yes, the media relations policy.
A media relations policy. And so this really gives us our left and right limits on how we're going to engage the community. And can you talk about the media policy, what it is, and how we collectively agree that centralizing media communications is efficient form of government, but it also helps us have checks and balances with our elected officials?
Yeah, so I would say, you hit on a few good points, and one of them being, for a town of Plymouth size too, it was time that this role came. You needed more of a cohesive, so not only is it getting the information out there, but it's getting it out cohesively as one voice. So kind of as you said, specifically with bird flu, backtracking for 2 seconds, was, it gives the departments the ability to focus on what they need to focus on. So in this case, public health. If we have, everything coming out from the town manager's office, but written by a handful of different departments, different people, it's never going to be a unified town voice.
Right.
We needed it. Right. We needed that. It streamlines information and it keeps the misinformation, from getting out there, because now we have how many hands in the cookie jar. Right. So I think that was a crucial point of this role, and one of the reasons of creating this media relations policy, because it will stream any media requests to, one person, or in the case, we created a media@plymouth-ma.gov email that comes to myself, and in the case I'm out sick or something, you're also able to see it. Right. So it gives, more than one set of eyes on the media requests coming out there.
It centralizes and streamlines those requests from the media.
For us internally, but also, for the media. So for us internally, it keeps, so say the town clerk's busy doing, it's election season, what was in November. she wasn't going to have time to answer handfuls of emails from the media. Things would probably get missed, and we would have lost opportunities as the town to promote all the great work that her office was doing. But having, this role myself here, and the media knowing to come to me, I was able to streamline, reach out to her, walk down to her office, get in touch with her directly or her staff. Maybe she wasn't the right person, but she knew who would be. It allows me to really just kind of project manage who's going to be the right person to talk to, and I think that saves the media time too. It's very efficient.
Well, yeah, I mean, in theory, like for those sports fans, like you're like the point guard, right?
Yep.
So you take the ball and you push it to different players, right? And it comes back to you, right? And it comes back to you, and you keep moving the ball around. And that's what we were trying to achieve with some of the local media sources. We're like, listen, we're trying to be a professional organization. That's number one, right? So we're a $325 million organization. Let's start acting like it. Let's stop acting like, we're this small community that has limited resources. We have a lot of resources in the community, and we have to start acting like a professional organization. And so, again, you being here allows us, and most organizations, certainly corporations, have a public relations director on hand, that all requests go through the public relations director, and that media outlets aren't allowed to contact, somebody who's working on the front lines of Amazon, right? They got to call the media relations director for Amazon if they want information or if they want a quote. We're not doing anything different than any other Fortune 500 corporation would do.
We're not reinventing the wheel. No. We're actually following
best practices
that are already put in place.
Right, and so
difference.
We're just asking for the local media to say, listen, this is our media policy adopted by the select board, and we're only asking you to follow it, right? Yep. So you were on vacation for about a week, and we had received requests from Channel 5, we received requests from Channel 4 on various topics, and then it was all streamlined because these media outlets, these Boston media outlets, understood to go to the listserv, and your requests will be filled. We didn't have any breakdown in those requests. So, and these are big, major media outlets out of Boston. And if they can follow it, I'm sure the local guys, small guys, should be able to follow it. It's pretty simple stuff.
Triple E, going back to my first few months here over the summer, having myself set in this role, really, it took a little bit because I was so new for the local media, the Boston media, to know who to come to. But after putting a few press releases out with my contact information, it was instant. People were reaching out to me, and that allowed our Health and Human Services Commissioner, Ms. Brady, to not have to be stuck at her desk answering requests. I'm streamlining.
Think about it for a minute. If you're the Channel 6 reporter who's been sent to go to Plymouth to do a story on the most recent storm, you want to know that you don't have to make 3 phone calls. Maybe I contact the DPW director. I don't know. Maybe I call the fire chief or emergency management director. If they know that the person they contact is our communications coordinator, it's easy.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've talked to some folks from WATD, and they have all told me, since your arrival, them getting information from Town Hall has been so much easier for them. So I'm happy to hear that positive feedback, because I think it's important. So let's move off of the policy a little bit, and let's focus a little bit on what you're going to do in your role to inform the community on all the things that are happening in town. So I mentioned that we started this show back in 2022, This Week in Plymouth. It was just a forum to do this. And now I know since your arrival, you've expanded This Week in Plymouth to This Week in Plymouth Live, which you just did with Karen Keene a couple weeks ago. And then doing the first show tomorrow, This Week in Plymouth on the Road. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so the This Week in Plymouth Live, we're actually, the local scene has been great with their opportunities for us to expand, and one of them being, back to bird flu. We kind of were like, how do we engage the community? We're seeing, all these questions on social media, and I'll just say it right now, I do not answer social media comments. That's not where I can answer them. Any type of questions that will be asked will be answered, in a press release or on a show such as this.
And you always give a phone number. If you have more
Yes.
questions, contact the phone number.
Contact, my email's on there, and also my contact information at Town Hall. It's just utilizing resources. There's just social media is not the place I can answer questions. But with that being said, we were like, how do we get the community engaged and really, answer their questions directly? And we talked with the local scene. I talked with the Director of Public Health, Karen Keene, and we came up with a live Zoom. And we sat here in the studio, and I was answering questions, I was typing back to folks live, and it was just an awesome avenue to be able to address the community and their questions head on, and just really, bridge that gap of any miscommunication that had been coming out. You're hearing it straight from our director's mouth, and she's been the one who's been the point person in touch with, the state. So there's no misinformation coming from her. So we are going to definitely utilize the This Week in Plymouth Live way more often. I will hopefully be doing a cybersecurity live webinar. I think that's something that the community all the time needs to be aware of, because hackers are just getting better and better, and it's
good information.
Very scary. But this week on the road, it will be us are coming to you. So, for example, we're going to be, going to the police department and interviewing some of the lieutenants and some training tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. That will be a really good one, because it will be a new initiative specifically with body cameras. That's some funding there that people are going to be wondering why did we get these?
Right.
And
Why are we
then
doing this?
how are they going to be utilized? We're going to be showing you hands-on how our officers are being trained, and then discussing straight to our officers and hearing from the trainer of how these work.
Right. Well, that's the point. So, one, I'm going to take you up on the This Week in Plymouth Live. I would love to be a part of that.
Yes.
So people can call and ask me questions. Anything that's going on in Town Hall, I'm happy to answer those questions. So let's do that soon. Yeah. So you guys heard it here first. I'm going to do that. But getting back to This Week in Plymouth on the road, that's just, again, you go out to our various departments, or maybe on scene of a construction project. You can get live footage of what's going on. That footage can go back. So local scene does a great job on all those fronts. So we appreciate their support, and they've been there, shoulder to shoulder with us, at least since 2022, since I've been here. I know, and certainly before that. So that's great. That's 3 new mediums that we're going to get information out. The magazine, right? So I remember when I met you back in July.
Yes.
You had asked a question like, what is the big splash?
What can I do?
Came up with the magazine. Can you tell the folks about the magazine?
Yeah.
When it comes out, how they can view it, all those different things.
So this is the quarterly magazine. So this is my initial, baby in Plymouth. So this comes out quarterly. So the first one went out October 19th. So it was pushed out live for the fall town meeting. The second issue went out January 1st. And then the next one will be coming out digitally April 1st. And then the physical copies will be ready and handed out initially at town meeting. And then we have them available in Town Hall in the town manager's office, also at the CAL, so the Center for Active Living, and also the Plymouth Public Library will have them. So limited amount of published copies, but they are digital and you can print them at home. So the beauty of this magazine is it highlights all the things that I was mentioning earlier, where there are so many projects through all the various departments throughout Town Hall and throughout town that, sometimes, I don't want to say they get overlooked, but the folks working them are so busy working on the projects that they don't have time to do this.
Right.
I'm able to, pull just some facts from them, grab pictures, and kind of bring it to life. So that's what the magazine is. It brings some of these projects and these initiatives to life and pushes it out to the public to just kind of explain some of the things. This isn't even touching a majority of what's happening.
So if I'm a resident in town, and
Yeah.
I'm going to take a copy of this. So if I'm a resident in town and I want to get a copy of this magazine, now you said that I can get it electronically.
Yes.
How would I get this electronically?
So when it goes out digitally, so let's say April 1st will be ready digitally, it will be put in the newsflash section of the homepage, but it is also in the communications page under, if you go to departments.
Can I sign up? Because I know the
Yes.
news flashes, you can sign up to get various alerts. Like if you sign up to get the select board agenda, it'll get pushed to your email address. Can somebody sign up to specifically get the magazine sent to them directly?
So you go to the notify me. So if you go in the search bar and type in, quarterly magazine or notify me, you'll automatically go and you'll be able to see all the things you can sign up for. So Newsflash being one of them, my magazine or the town magazine being one of them as well.
So simple, right?
Yeah.
If you're interested in getting this magazine sent to you electronically, the only thing you have to do is go to the website at www.plymouth-ma.gov, and then you can sign up to get this magazine.
Yep.
And then those folks, like you just mentioned, those folks that go to the Cal, they can get hard copy or at the library. Now, just so folks are aware, we have a very limited budget.
Yes.
We try to be frugal with our tax dollars. So we only print about 250 copies each quarter.
Yep.
So we have very limited distribution as far as hard copies, but electronic copies, they're far and wide.
Yes, and you can get it. I also post when it first goes out each quarter on social media too. So we're trying to get it out different avenues of where folks can retrieve it. But the best way would be, as you said, to sign up for it to go straight to your inbox. You don't even have to worry about doing anything. It will just appear for you.
Push is always better than pull.
Yes.
So moving on from the magazine, so we talked about video. We've talked about hard copy magazines. Now we're moving into something probably a little bit more 21st century, podcasts.
Yes. This
So
one's my
what's
favorite.
going on with podcasts?
Okay, so we started a podcast. The first episode, we didn't push a lot because it was, the topic was a little heavier, but people do know about it. So the podcast is called Counterpoint. So the point of it is to, disseminate misinformation. And it can be misinformation
To counter misinformation.
To counter
misinformation.
Yes,
Gotcha.
misinformation. So if, back to bird flu as an example, because it's happening in real time.
Right.
If we were to hear or see some things on social media of, the town's not doing anything, or this is what is being said by the state, or, have the lab test results come in yet? And folks are saying, yeah, I think I heard it, but they haven't actually. That's where I would use, podcasts on top of my press releases. It's just another avenue to push information. People don't find us on the town website if they're not going on social media. So if you don't want to read it, you don't want to watch it, maybe you can hear it. So again, it's just another medium.
Can you subscribe to this Counterpoint podcast?
Yeah, so it's very new. We just did one regarding bird flu that I'm actually going to be pushing out. So it's live right now on Spotify and Apple Music, and also the town's YouTube channel via the local scene. I will also push that out on social media and put up on the website, so it will go under Newsflash. But I will further make some subscription options so people can, subscribe straight to our channel. Make it a little easier. But this one's in the infancy, so really starting to ramp up, guests to bring on. But it's just really to get people on and just, talk to them for 10, 12 minutes.
But it makes sense because if you go, so I got off Facebook for a lot of reasons, but if you go on Facebook, there's so much misinformation that is out there, whether it's on bird flu, whether it's something that's happening locally, to have another focus area to say, listen, this is what we're hearing. Because like you said, in your role, you will not respond to someone's Facebook post. Because what happens is you get into a back and forth, and we all know you're never going to win a back and forth on social media. So, but there is misinformation out there, so a good way to counter that misinformation is to have a podcast and say, listen, this is what we're hearing about on Facebook. Well, let us set the record straight. Let us provide the right information so people are aware of that. So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What else are you thinking beyond this? Because, again, before you arrived, we would do the best we could to get information. But now that you're here, many would say that we should be flooding the community with all things that are happening, through town government. And so what are your thoughts on pushing information, flooding the community with good information?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're doing is a great start. I think the quarterly magazine has went over really well with the community. I think one of the things that the magazine's lacking that I'm thinking of creating a blog would be, almost as if I'm doing the magazine, but maybe on a monthly basis.
Sure.
So they would be a lot shorter. It would probably be one subject, and it would just be, maybe a quick one-pager. So it's not a press release. It's not as formal as, we have bird flu or a parking ban due to snow. It could be, hey, the groundbreaking at Jenny Gristmill? Well, we're 3 months into that project. Do you want to know the updates?
Right.
Here's what's going on.
Right.
So it's almost, I can't fit everything into this. Like you said, we're on a limited budget. I got so many pages. There's so many great projects. I try to hit all the departments, but some of the departments have so many great things happening in the projects that span years. So why not give little, tidbits of information along the way? This only comes out 4 times a year. Why not hit some projects throughout? So.
And there's a population out there, they like information in small chunks, right? There is a segment of the population that will never read this magazine.
Yeah.
There's too many pages, right? So when you look at what you have already accomplished, both in social media, right? So that's hitting one demographic. You got a print magazine that's hitting another demographic. You have this video, you have the show, now in multiple different platforms, that's going to hit another demographic. So I have always said to staff that we work in the most challenging time because we have so many different generations that consume information and they want services differently, right? So if you're 25 years old, you want to pay your tax bill with your cell phone. But if you're say a 70-year-old, you want to go to town hall and pay your tax bill. So we have to ensure that we hit all those demographics, both how we deliver services and how we communicate. So, few more minutes, we got 30 seconds left. Anything you want to end with?
No, I want to thank you for having me. I've enjoyed the journey so far. I am open to suggestions. I love hearing from the community of, what does the community want to see? Because they're the ones, getting the information. So I'd like to continue pushing out all the great stuff we're doing, but my email is available on the website. I'm open to any ideas.
Positive feedback, constructive criticism.
Yes.
We'll take it all.
I'll take it.
Well, thank you, Casey, for coming on. And thank you all for joining us again for this episode of This Week in Plymouth. Please, if you want to pull information from the town website or sign up to these various newsletters, go to the website at www.plymouth-ma.gov. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.